Hey, it's Virginia. What do you think of my hair? I know it's a big deal. I chopped it off without telling anyone a few days ago, and it just feels very me and very natural. And I do also think it's part of sort of a larger kind of maybe Aries, Age of Aquarius, who knows, kind of movement that's going on. It seems like there are a lot of, especially women, that are shaving their head and cutting their hair off. And I did a lot of meditating and just going within on this. And this is the expression that I wish to put forth and that really feels like me right now. And it's for me. And that feels really empowering. I do just want to acknowledge it because I know that my hair is a big part of my presentation and my expression of being. And so chopping my hair off that I had been growing for years and that had all those memories of even the Camino de Santiago and living in Australia for a year and living in Guatemala. And it just felt time and appropriate for me to let all of that go. And so this is a symbol of that. And maybe it inspires you towards letting something go. Maybe not. Maybe you're like, wow, why did she cut her hair? I've come a long way as far as I have a pretty poignant memory of my best friend Jonelle, when you're younger and you would ask each other those questions of like, what do you think is the most attractive thing about me? And, many times in my life I've heard my hair. And I specifically remember once that Jonelle told me that. And so it's like, well, if you get rid of that, you're not going to be attractive anymore. And the last time I chopped all of my hair off like this was when I was 24 years old and I was moving from Los Angeles back to my hometown of Cody, Wyoming. And it was just devastating in a lot of ways, but part of the reason it was devastating is a big part of the reason I did it was these actresses that I admired who had their hair like this. And so I was kind of still doing it to be attractive to other people. And this time, I don't miss my hair at all. It doesn't feel like a big deal. It truly feels like I'm coming into my own of, I just want people to know who I actually am. And, if it's disturbing to people that I'm not who they thought I was or who they'd like me to be, then good riddance. I don't want to fool myself or others anymore in that way. And so, people are like, oh my gosh, are you freaking out? Like, do you miss it? And I'm like, no. Like, watching my dear friend Kathy just chop it all off was really liberating. And so I just wanted to come on here and, acknowledge that because in the 10 months since I started my YouTube channel, you've all seen me with really long hair. So, hey. And I wanted to chat with you a little bit about what is going on with these divine dialogues that I'm starting and just chat with you about, I've kind of talked about it a bit before. I want to talk about it a bit more. Integration is a big word for me. And there's this really great book. I'll link to it down below. It's called The Book of Birthdays. And it's like a combination of numerology and astrology and tarot, all of which I'm getting a lot more into. And I'll never forget it says for the day of my birthday that it's the day of integration. And I resonated with that at the time that I first read it about a year ago, or not quite, maybe it was more like 6 months ago, in Missoula, Montana, I think it was Livingston, in this coffee shop where my friends Jonelle and Alex and I found this book. And I thought, yes, because that is what I love to do. I love to integrate everything. I love to show how, whether it's philosophy or psychology or theology or astrology or tarot or any of these things or biology, that they're all saying the same things in different languages, which, of course, that. And so I do love having those conversations. It's just that for me, a big part of the work that I'm here to do in this life is also to integrate myself. And that comes as far as, integrating public and private selves, integrating the parts of me that I've shown and not shown, or parts of me that I've shown in certain times and not other times. And so I bring that up because even though it was a huge deal for me to start this YouTube channel, because I felt like before that I had very much been in the spiritual closet and, was all like academia and journalism and marketing and travel and adventure and these kinds of things, these kind of like hard, more material, earthy things, which makes a lot of sense for me. Sun sign Capricorn, my element is earth in this body and this personality that my soul has chosen this time around to work through what I have to work through. And so I think I went really hard towards like only spiritual things. And maybe that's why you're here on this channel. And so I just want to tell you, if you start feeling like the content that I'm putting out as I'm integrating more of myself, more of my spiritual with political, with feminist, with journalistic, with progressive selves, and also interviewing people who have also like very different outlooks on life than even me or than you, then like please unsubscribe. I'm not interested anymore in just sharing what I think it is that people want to hear. And it doesn't really matter how big my audience is if I'm not showing the like ever more truer and truer and more expansive story that I want to tell. And when I say documenting real life magic, to me, real life magic means a lot of things. And one of the things that means is true and authentic expressions and storytelling and narrative of the human experience. And so I'm going to be interviewing and chatting with, during these divine dialogues, people from all different walks of life, who have all kinds of different stories to tell. And that feels really real and really important to me. It's also a really beautiful way to show more of who I am, because who I am in conversation with all of these amazing people that I have connections with is going to be different than, who I am when it's just me sitting here talking to the camera. And I want to show you guys what it looks like to grow and to make mistakes and to stop doing things for other people and start doing things more for ourselves, and to not be controlled by other people's expectations of you. And you've probably heard the term spiritual bypassing a lot. I have. And I was always like, oh, like, what is that? Like, that's not me and that's not whatever. And I don't need to pay attention to that. And especially as I've started to get more into my charts and learn more about the ancient sciences of astrology and numerology and even tarot, and just, mythology in general, psychology, all of these things, I've realized, okay, I actually was doing a lot of spiritual bypassing. And so if the things that I start talking about as far as relationships and politics and, again, interviewing people from all sides, like whether it's people that I agree with or not, because I think what is most important to me is being real and authentic. And so if that starts to make you uncomfortable, like I said, I want you to do you. I don't want you to feel like you need to stay here for any reason. And also, it's more important to me, again, that the people who are interested in following this journey and listening to the stories that I have to tell and that I'm putting on a platform for other people, are following this because they see who I really am and what I'm really trying to do, rather than me trying to present something to make sure that everybody likes me and nobody's offended. Because I do think that it is spiritual bypassing, at least for me, and everyone's path is different. I'm not like accusing you of spiritual bypassing, and everyone has a different thing that they're here to learn. For me, there is a lot going on in my karma and what I'm here to learn about family and boundaries and relationships. And it is very necessary for me to, in community, which ties into relationships, it's very necessary for me to integrate those, psychological, relational, very, very human lessons in with spirituality and the divine. And so if you don't like that, then I'm sure that there will still be videos that you'll like that are a lot more spiritual in nature, and you might not like a lot of the content that I'm putting out. I'm of the feeling that I want to be exposed to things that I don't necessarily like or agree with, because that feels important to me as well. And I just, it's like the Tao says, sometimes things have to get bigger before they can get smaller. And I think an example of spiritual bypassing for me, I'm not saying for you, not accusing anything of anyone. I'm interested in analyzing and looking at myself and acknowledging my mistakes and sharing my growth in a way where I'm not afraid to look wrong. I'm not afraid for people to insult me. I'm not afraid to intimidate people. I'm not afraid for people to say, oh, we miss who you were when you were just this nice little perfect blah, 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 blah. We miss divinity school. Like, okay, there are plenty of other channels like that on YouTube. I'm here to be real. And I'm here to show my growth. And it's not that spiritual side of me isn't real. It's that an example of spiritual bypassing to me, for me, in my experience, is saying, oh, only think about positive things. Only think about positive things. Don't let your mind go to those dark traumas or those dark times where you have not understood what boundaries meant, and that has led to like stalker, unsafe kind of energy coming into your life. Just don't think about those things. Like for me, that's spiritual bypassing, because those are the things that I'm here to learn. So the people, who these videos are probably going to help, as much as people who are looking for spiritual community are going to be people who are looking for practical ways within the human experience to learn about the diversity of human experience and get practical tips about relational stuff, as well as mindset, as well as spirituality. So, because like I said, sometimes things have to get worse before they can get better. And different spiritual people, different people are out there espousing and sharing different things. So, maybe I'm not the one for you. And that's huge for me to say, honestly, you guys, because my whole unconscious programming has been make sure that you can be the best for and to everyone and please everyone. And that's really kept me from being able to be like me, and like my hair could kind of be an example of that, right? It's like this idea of like, well, if you have such beautiful long hair, like obviously you want to have that because everyone's going to think that that's beautiful. Okay, but what if like this is the most me right now? I would rather be the most me. And I'm finding out what that is, poco a poco, little by little, than the most perfect. And that's a huge thing for me to say. So I'm going to be going into a lot of things and a lot of conversations with people, and with people from all different kinds of walks of life. I really do feel that love is about accepting and listening to different perspectives. And so I just wanted to share all of this with you guys. You're going to be seeing a lot of different kinds of dialogues. And I do want to make a podcast out of it eventually. And first, I'm going to be sharing it on my YouTube channel. So I hope you enjoy. I look forward to hearing your point of view. And rather, what I want to empower you guys toward in my, and A Course in Miracles does teach us this. It's like how we really teach people is through our own behavior. And through me feeling unconsciously in many ways, right? And again, that's where I would say that spiritual bypassing for me was taking place, as far as, Of course, the one great truth is that we are all one and everything is love, and we're all in a different place in the karmic path, and we're all here in this human experience for a reason. We are divine beings who have chosen to be human because we have things to learn. And a big thing that I'm here to learn is that I'm not here to please everyone and make sure that I make everyone feel good about themselves by only presenting that most perfect part of me, and that in those, spiritual arguments that nobody could argue with, like, because then I'm basically, what I'm teaching is that you can only share those perfect parts of you, and you can only put forth that part of you that sees that everything is love and everything is peace, versus like you're also acceptable and pure love when you are able to safely and, in a larger picture, unharmingly express those parts of you that are not perfect, that are hurt, that are traumatized, that are confused, that are fucked up, that have made mistakes. And that's really what I want to show you guys. So I'm not going to go back and delete the videos on my channel because I feel like that represented a very one-dimensional side of me. And I am going to, over time, through my own mistakes, show that all dimensions of me, the aggressive parts, the traumatized parts, the selfish parts, the confused parts, the people-pleasing parts, the no boundaries, the running away parts, the not taking responsibility part, all of these parts, as I'm willing to show them and show this multidimensionality, are worth loving, because me showing all true parts of myself and allowing a platform for others to show and share the truth of them is actually the best way that I can show you that all the parts of you are worth loving and worth accepting, and you have those parts of you for a reason. So anyway, I'm sending lots of love, and I'm sending you full permission to be yourself for you, and to not be afraid to go into the darkness and go into the shadow and go into the unconscious, because that integration, if you're watching this video, might be a really big piece of what you're here to learn towards that realization in the end, that all is light and love. Sometimes we go into the shadow to get there. So talk to you soon, and lots more divine dialogues and interviews coming soon.